Alright, welcome back to Preachin' Preacher, episode 3. It was called The Possibilities. We lead off from basically where Preacher in the last episode told the girl to open her eyes. Well, now her eyes are open, but she's still in her coma. So the mother thinks it's a miracle. Jesse's kind of realizing his powers a little bit. Like every action kind of has a consequence style scenario to it. Like asking the guy to give her your heart or whatever and pulling out his actual heart. You know, telling her to open her eyes and her eyes opening but still being in the coma.
So this episode introduces us to two new characters. One whose name is Danny. Tulip sits with her, ends up giving her, they trade information. Danny gives her the whereabouts of this Carlos character, which we have yet to really been introduced to, getting a little bit of background information. Danny then takes the information Tulip gives to her to this guy dressed in all white, who is supposedly kind of like a snuff film. The guy seems to be like a little bit, I don't know, menacing.
Yeah. No information's really been said about him yet.
No, not yet.
No. Anyways, we see Sheriff Root interviewing the two government agents that Cass had killed. I guess their names are Fiore and DeBlanc. They gear up with guns and armor once they get a sheriff out of the way. He tells them some sob-ass story. They don't really care. They gear up with guns, armor, and prepare to basically go round 2 against the preacher.
So Tulip is then stopped by the police in this kind of pulled over for speeding. She then gives some sob story. It kind of gives you a little bit of a sense of what Tulip's character is kind of like, lying for her own...
Yeah, greasy, lying, cheating, thieving.
Just whatever she needs to do to get by. Oh, Preacher then plays around with his abilities. He almost makes Cass fly, which almost hurts Cass because he kind of goes straight into the wall in a really funny scene.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, I gotta admit. Jesse, in the last episode, broke this dude's arm. Now basically everybody's talking about it. They're mocking him for squealing like a rabbit when he broke his arm. He's all feeling emasculated and shit when this guy asks him to pick up a tray and he can't even do it because of his broken arm. We also see him praising his son for beating up a kid that mocked his dad.
There's a scene with both the bus driver and Donnie, both who have been beat up by Preacher, neither of them knowing that Preacher did the same thing to both of them.
Yeah, Donnie kind of does that creepy, or not Donnie, the bus driver, does some creepy ass conversation with a little girl too. It's really creepy.
Oh, he doesn't recognize her.
Yeah.
From the last episode.
Yeah. Tulip catches up with Preacher and tries to convince him to come kill this Carlos guy. He's supposedly just a guy from the past. Tulip also mentions Jesse's father, who's dead. DeBlanc and Fiore, they get ran down and killed in an awesome fashion by Cass. It makes it for a pretty funny scene because he's all like, holy shit, they're clones. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
DeBlanc and Fiore reappear just moments later after being run over. And then Jesse ends up in the bathroom. Donnie ends up coming in and is trying to make him squeal with a gun to his face.
Yeah.
Jesse then ends up using his powers to
He uses his powers. He makes him sit down, put the gun in his mouth, and then pull back the hammer all oh, and he's all doesn't want it, and then he's all drop the gun, and it scares the living shit out of Donnie, and he just gets the fuck out of Dodge. So he's finally starting to understand how his powers work. He changes his mind on doing the whole hunting down Carlos, and Tulip ends up pretty fucking pissed off.
We find out Fiore and DeBlanc aren't vampire killers, but they're they're not vigilantes. They work for the government, supposedly.
Yeah.
The one ends up saying that they work for heaven.
Yeah, government of heaven.
The government of heaven, I guess. They're trying to take this entity from inside of Jesse with the coffee can again.
Yeah, that's I guess the container they hold it in is a coffee can.
It's kind of funny. Cass that ends up talking to them and trying to make Cass the third party so no one gets hurt.
Yeah, so they don't get all shot and killed again. Yeah. Or it's chainsawed. Eugene and Sheriff Root are basically sitting at a table, and we see the dick side of Root. He was always kind of a dick, but we see how much of a dick he is and how
the real comic book side of him.
Yeah, how he treats his son. He just treats him like shit, and kind of you can tell he just despises him. So we basically end the episode with the funeral for Ted, the guy that pulls his heart out in episode 1. There's really only a preacher and one other person at the funeral.
It's the woman that works.
Yeah, the other woman that works there. They slowly pan out and we see a gravestone, and the gravestone says John Custer, 1955 to 1990. So, his father.
This has been Bangers and Mash. Don't forget to check out our new channel. It's Bangers and Mash Live on YouTube. Keep checking out our reviews, our movie reviews. The Bangerz and Mash Live has the live streams now.
Yeah, our live streams, our game footage and all that. We're going to kind of keep over on one side and keep our reviews on the other side, so we don't kind of crowd the channels, right? It's making it easier for you guys. Anyways, don't forget to tune in, subscribe, donate your Boba Fett merchandise, check out our podcast. We got all this shit coming.
Podcast.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff. Check it all out.
Yeah. Until next time, this is Mash saying, fuck off. And
Fuck, we have so much